title of my message is Lights, Camera, Action. Lights, camera, action. This is a phrase that you hear a lot when it comes to Hollywood. Lights, camera, action. But there is actually very specific reasons for those words. Lights have to be on. If you've ever been to a studio or anything else like that for any recording needs to be done, video recording, you need to have good lighting. When we were in COVID and Pastor and I used to meet up during the week to record the messages and get them out for you guys on Sunday, one of the greatest challenges we had was the lighting. Because we used to record in here. There's a lot of blue. There is a lot of blue. And there was times when I was editing the service where just out of nowhere, you would see blue start on this side of Pastor's face and come to the other side, because as the sun would go, so we had to figure out, okay, how do we fix this? And so we got an idea, but lighting is very important. If a person is not lit correctly, and you'll learn this if you ever have a chance to go into a theater, or if you ever had a chance to go into someplace else, if a person is not lit correctly, they can look like they have a very sinister face. If the light is not shining correctly here, you only have the light shine here, and over here it'll be dark. If the light is only at a right angle over here, this side of their face might be lit up, and this side will be completely dark. So lighting is important. Lighting is very important. When they say camera, well, the camera has to be ready. You have to get the focus in. You have to make sure the character is in frame. You have to make sure this and this and that and that. There is a whole class that you have to take just to learn how to get someone in frame. Because if it's wrong, and there is a video of that from the last Be the Light service we did, there's one of the services we did, I didn't set up our camera correctly. So for half of the message, this part of my head was gone. And Mom was sitting, actually where Pastor Bob was sitting, and Mom is doing this to me. I have no idea. Well, I'm up here giving the message, and all I see is Mom do this. And then Ted, where you're sitting, Kat was sitting. Then Kat joined in the little charades. And I'm going over there, and I'm just like, is there something on top of my head? So, I start wiping my head and everything else like that. And it finally dawned on me, oh, I'm not in frame. And so for the rest of the sermon, I am sitting down so you can see my hair. And it's one of those things, like you notice today I'm wearing shoes. I rarely wear shoes when I'm up here, even when I'm in the church. So not only do you get to see my head get cut off, but during the first part of that sermon, you see my toes just wiggling right there. Framing is important. Framing is important. It helps to draw your attention to where it needs to be. If the framing and the attention is not in the right spot, the main character who's supposed to be highlighted will be overshadowed by someone in the back. Next time you watch a TV show, pay very close attention on how it is, on how the main character seems to be nice and clear. You can see stuff in the back, you can see the person in the back, but not clear enough to take away your view from the main character. That is why the camera has to be focused. And of course, action, because, hey, it's time to start. If we look at lights, camera, action, and we look at it in the life of a Christian, it can mean the same thing and yet slightly different. Light reveals. Light reveals. The light's on in our sanctuary right now. Now, obviously, we have windows that have natural light come in, but because the lights are on, you can see me more clearly. There is no shadow upon me. Everything is revealed. In John 1:5, it says, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. Now, we may not be in a Hollywood studio, we may not be on a TV show, but light for us is important. Light is the prep. Lighting is the preparation that needs to be done. Another word for it is lighting is your devotional time. Because it's in your devotional time with God that God reveals things to you that needs to be worked on, that needs to be turned over to him. Half of the battle is done in the prep. When I was working in kitchens, if we weren't prepped and ready to go, I am sorry, it was a rough night. You'd be surprised how much irritant it caused to stop for 30 seconds to cut an onion when it could have been done. And how behind it puts you. It's only 30 seconds. Yeah, 30 seconds is a lot. If we are not spending time outside of the four walls of the church on our own daily basis, getting into the Word, worshiping the Lord, and praying, we have more hidden away than we really think. Now, is light bad? Light is not bad. It just reveals stuff about us that we need to work on. Now, here's the thing. We may not want to work on it, but we have to work on it. 1 John 1:7 says, "But we are living in the light as God is in the light. Then we have fellowship with one another, and the blood of Jesus, his Son, cleanses us from all sin." Where is your preparation? Are you prepped up? How much of the word are you getting daily? One of the greatest struggles that we need to realize in this day and age is that we can get so busy that we forget the spiritual disciplines. We forget how important it is to read the word and to pray. We forget how important it is to worship God on our own. It's amazing to come together as one and worship him corporately. But it's important to worship him when it's just ourselves. We are the light. Where there is light, darkness has no place. Where there is light, darkness has no place. How much light of God are you allowing in your life? How much light are you allowing in your life? How much are you letting him reveal stuff to you that needs to be worked on? Because let's face it, until you're 6 feet under or in his presence, you got stuff to work on. Ain't nobody perfect. You can be coming to church from Adam. You could have known Adam personally. You still have stuff to work on. How much time you spend with him on your own daily account will show how much he is to you and how much he is revealed to you. The camera comes back to our focus. Not only our focus, but others' focus. In Philippians 4:8, this is actually the girls' club motto, I don't know what it is, sorry. "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things." What do we focus on? What are we focusing on? Where is our lens focused on? Are we focusing on who God is in our life, or are we focusing on the problem? I guess another way to put this: is God the main character in the view, or is he the blurry one in the background? See, a lot of times when we're struggling, I'm not saying we're not going to have struggles, but a lot of times when we're going through stuff, God becomes the blurry background, and the problem becomes the forefront. You want a really great example of this? Jesus was in the boat sleeping. The disciples are on, right? They're on Galilee. The storm came out. The storm became the biggest thing. Jesus was still in the boat. Jesus was still in the boat. And the disciples are freaking out. How can Jesus sleep? We're going to die. You forget when God said we're going to make it to the other side, we'll make it to the other side. Where is your focus? Is your focus more set on your problem, on a difficulty, or is it more set on who God is? You have to remember, you need to tell the storm how big your God is. Not only that, you have to believe that your God is bigger than the storm. The reason why our focus is so important is because once we get to focus and we focus on God, the focus around us begin to shift. Now, people begin to watch us. People begin to watch us, and where our focus is at, will show them where their focus should be. Can people tell the difference? Can they really tell the difference in who you are? Yesterday, I had to work an opening shift. So at my department, that's 5 a.m. Getting inside there, getting the ovens ready, skewering chickens. Originally, I was supposed to be 7 a.m. So you can imagine my surprise when my boss said, "Oh, schedule wrong, come in at 5. Like, oh, great, awesome, because, I am a morning person. So any plans that I had was thrown out the window because I'm like, I gotta get some sleep. And so I went to go talk to my coworker because I got pushed up to 5 a.m., he got pushed up to 7 a.m., and another one got pushed up to 9 a.m. So I went to go tell my coworker, who was originally at 9, now at 7, like, yo, our schedule's changed. You gotta come in at 7. He was like, what? Dude, I was gonna go out. I was like, hey, this is where you can see like the generation shift, or just like how, I guess not the generation shift, just how old I am compared to my coworker. Because I'm over there, I'm like, well, if you're gonna go out and just eat, dude, you don't have to be out at like 11 o'clock at night to go eat. Just go eat and go home. And my coworker's like, bro, I can't go home at like 10. I'm like, why? Why not? 10's a great time to be home. 10 is an awesome time to be home. When I was younger, I knew it was almost bedtime at my grandparents' house because Uncle Joe came on the TV. And so I go to sleep. My alarm goes off at 2:30 because I'm one of those people who need to have multiple alarms to get up. And I get up, and I just get on my phone, and I'm going through IG, Instagram. And I come across my coworker's page, who I'm supposed to be working with at 7 a.m. It is 3 a.m. in the morning, and Brother Man is out. And I just went, well, okay, I guess he's calling out. I go to work, start skewering chickens. At 7 a.m., he kicks the door into our raw room, and he comes walking in, and he stares at me. And I was looking at him, and I was just like, well, good morning, sunshine. I haven't slept yet. I got home at 5 a.m., I got my clothes together. I haven't slept yet. And I went, yeah, I know, I saw your Instagram story. You see, where your focus is will determine how things will go. His focus was more on going out. And because of that, the consequences of that was when he started working, we had a messed up day. We had a messed up day. You cannot run out of chicken in my warehouse. You cannot run out of chicken. Now, I know for those of you who shop at Costco YPO, you go over there, sometimes they're out of chicken. Yeah, no, that is a very bad thing at my warehouse. We ran out of chicken 3 times because Brother Man was so tired he couldn't focus on what he was doing. And we went from having chickens come out every 20 minutes to having chicken come out every hour. And what ended up happening was my manager kicked open the door to the chicken room and said, "You get inside there, wash dishes. You get out of that skewer room, fix this." Where your focus is at, will tell exactly where you are, will tell exactly how things are going in your life, and it will show the example that you show others. Are you showing Jesus? Pastor Bob said this last week. Pastor Sarah has said it many times before too. We are the only Bible an unbeliever will ever read. If we are not focused correctly on who Jesus is, we're taking the focus off of God and we're focusing it the other way. And that is why a lot of people, when they see church folks, I'm saying this, church folks, they don't want nothing to do with church folks because the church folks ain't showing who Jesus is. Where is your focus? The light reveals. That happens on your own personal time. When you begin to go out into the world, begin to do your life, you have to focus on Jesus because now that you're out, the world begins to focus on you. And if you do not show who Jesus is, then you're just like everyone else. Don't let Jesus be the background character. He is meant to be the main character. Action. The actions is the example that we set. Because you can talk a very good game. You can talk great. You can be over there and saying, Jesus, 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 Jesus. But if your actions don't match up to what you say, your words is nothing because it all comes back to example. Jesus was unconventional in his actions. How do you know this? Because he made the religious people angry at what he did, and he made those who were rejected love him. The story that I come back to is in John 8, 3 through 11. The teachers of the law and the Pharisees brought in a woman caught in adultery. They made her stand before the group and said to Jesus, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. In the law of Moses, commanded us to stone such a woman. Now what do you say?" They were using this question as a trap in order to have a basis for accusing him. But Jesus bent down and started writing on the ground with his finger. When they kept on questioning him, he straightened up and he said, "Let anyone who is without sin be the first one to throw the stone." He again stooped down and started writing on the ground. At this, those heard began to go away at that time, the older ones first, until Jesus was left with the woman still standing there. Jesus straightened up and asked her, "Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?" "No, sir. Neither do I condemn you." Jesus declared, "Go now and leave your life of sin." There was an action that took place. They caught the woman. Now, there's a whole bunch of questions you can ask over here. They caught the woman. Where was the guy? There's a whole bunch of questions. But it comes down to it that Jesus didn't bring the judgment that the people wanted upon her. Now, let's get this straight. You can read the scripture and say, but they quoted the law of Moses. They were doing something to try to get their own advantage. And that's where they were wrong. They're using the law to trick Jesus to saying something so they can do this and do that. They were trying to exploit something that they should have never have exploited. Jesus understood that. Jesus was forgiving. The people back then weren't so forgiving. Jesus was around people that he shouldn't have been around. He was a rabbi. You don't belong with certain people if you're a rabbi. Even better, Jesus should have never been around dead people. And you read stories of him being, Jesus was unconventional in his actions because they had to show the world that there is a loving God. There is a loving God who is willing to go out to the outcasts and bring them in. What actions are we showing? Does our actions match the words that we say? When people see our actions, does it match our faith? Faith without works is dead. In 1 Peter 2:12, it says, live such good lives among the pagans, that though they accuse you of doing wrong, they may see your good deeds and glorify God on the day he visits. Live your life in such a way that when people talk bad about you, people bring things against you, no one will believe it. No one will believe it. Why? Because it wasn't the words that you said that convinced people. It was the actions that you did. It was the actions that you did. They stole from me. When? How? They said this about me. Really? That person? That actually happened with me one time, where a supervisor said that I called her a female dog in heat. And my coworkers all went, him? Him? And she was like, yeah, you call me. And they went, no. No, that is not who he is. That is not. People will say things against you. People will accuse you of things. People will come after you. If your actions show where your focus and your faith is, when people say stuff about you, no one will believe it because you show who Jesus is. Actions are important to us as well. In Galatians 6:9, it says, let us not become weary in doing good. For a proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Colossians 3:23 says, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters. We have to remember that no matter what we do, whether it's work, whether it's worship, whether it's our family, we must be an example of who Christ is. We have to show who Christ is because we have to realize that the Great Commission is not the Great Suggestion. The Great Commission is not the Great Suggestion. The Great Commission was not just to the disciples, was not just to our missionaries, was not just to people who are clergymen. No, the Great Commission was for all who are followers of Christ. So that means I have to be an example of who God is because I may not be sent to a different country to reach them, but I am placed where God has placed me to reach those around me. The Great Commission is not the Great Suggestion. We must be willing to spend time with God so he can reveal things to us. Reveal things to us in our life that we need to work on. Reveal things that he can draw closer to us and we can draw closer with him. When that happens, when the people focus on us, it will become easier to display who Christ is. And when that happens, our actions will speak for themselves. Our actions will speak for themselves because they will show and demonstrate who God is we must be unconventional in our actions in this day and age, because we must be examples of Jesus. Jesus was unconventional in his actions, and because of that, he was able to get people to follow him and see the kingdom of God. Our actions speak volumes. Our actions speak volumes.